From calling out cancel culture to roasting virtue signaling, these moments prove comedy still has a backbone. You'll love watching the woke warriors squirm after these brutal takedowns.
You know? And what are your thoughts on the cancel culture? Like, you know, if you say something wrong, people will try to cancel you immediately. You know, you even see Ellen dealing with it with her workplace. It seems like it drove her crazy where she's like, you know what, I'm retiring. You know.
Number 10, Chris Rock is calling out the insanity of cancel culture right from the start. He points out how quick people are to jump on anything they find remotely offensive. And if you say the wrong thing, your career is on the line.
Comedian, when the audience doesn't laugh, that we get the message.
Right.
Like, you don't really have to cancel us because we get the message.
Right.
They're not laughing. Our feelings hurt.
Right.
When we do something and people aren't laughing, we get it.
As a comedian, Rock knows failure better than anyone. When the audience doesn't laugh, you get the message instantly. It's a brutal reality check, and it's always been part of the job. But cancel culture has taken it further. They don't just want you to fail, they want to end you. That's the real disrespect here. The audience already has the power to decide what's funny, but the woke mob acts like they know better than everyone else. It's arrogant and, frankly, a disaster for comedy. The result? Safe, boring, and unfunny content.
Some people need to be looked out for. I definitely understand that. But not letting comedians work is, you know, what happens is everybody gets safe.
Right.
And when everybody gets safe and nobody tries anything, things get boring.
Right.
Rock's saying it plain and simple. Everyone is so terrified of offending someone that they've stopped taking risks altogether. Comedy, TV shows, movies, they're all getting neutered. Creativity thrives on risk and controversy, but when you're playing it safe all the time, you get nothing but bland, forgettable content. This is what happens when you let cancel culture run the show.
Have the right to fail.
Right.
Failure is a part of art. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's the ultimate cancel. You know what I mean? Now, you know, you got a place where people are scared to talk. That's not, you know, especially in America, you're scared to talk.
Rock nails it here. Failure is part of art. But cancel culture doesn't allow for failure. Instead of letting people learn, they go straight for the throat. We've entered a world where everyone is scared to even talk, especially in America, where free speech is supposed to be sacred. It's a chilling reality when comedians are too afraid to say what's on their mind because of the woke mob's relentless pursuit of justice. It's not about justice, it's about control. Number 9, classic Chappelle, using humor to highlight the differences we're all supposed to pretend don't exist. He's not afraid to poke at the absurdity of language and biology being rewritten while still keeping it hilarious and sharp. The joke is more about how we're all expected to play along without acknowledging the obvious differences.
I am not saying that to say that trans women aren't women. I am just saying that those pussies that they got, you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's not pussy, but that's like beyond pussy or impossible pussy. You know what I mean? It tastes like pussy, but that's not quite what it is it?
Chappelle has no problem calling out the hypocrisy. By referring to the LGBTQ+ community as the alphabet people, he mocks the overcomplicated identity politics of today. The joke lands because he exposes how much tiptoeing everyone has to do around certain groups, no matter what. He's not afraid to challenge the unspoken rules of comedy and free speech.
The rule is that no matter what you do in your artistic expression, you are never, ever allowed to upset the alphabet people. You know who I mean. Those people that took 20% of the alphabet for themselves.
Chappelle's brilliance here lies in pointing out the irony. He makes fun of everyone, yet the transgender community often reacts the strongest. The joke underscores how everyone is willing to laugh at other groups, but gets offended when it's their turn.
These motherfuckers, I mean, I didn't realize how bad it was. These motherfuckers, I was really mad about that last Netflix special. It's tough, man. I don't know what to do about it because I like them. I always have. Never had a problem with them. You know, just fucking around. As a matter of fact, I think I make fun of everybody, and I mean, as a group of people, they have to admit, it's kind of fucking hilarious, man. I'm sorry, bro. It's like, I've never seen somebody in such a hilarious predicament not have a sense of humor about it. They're born feeling like there's something other than they're born as, and that's kind of funny, you know? I mean, it's funny if it's not happening to you.
Chappelle highlights the lack of self-awareness and humor in an era where people take everything personally. Number 8, Bill Burr opens strong by poking fun at the ridiculousness of cancel culture in the workplace. Even working from home, people somehow manage to get themselves fired in the most absurd ways. He's setting the tone here for his commentary on how people are still finding ways to screw up, even in a more controlled environment like Zoom.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to take your dick out at work when you're at home. You know? Some people still manage to do it. They were on a Zoom call, no pants on. All of a sudden standing up, their junk right in the screen. Still figured out a way to get fired. It was unreal.
Burr points out that cancel culture started with a valid purpose, getting rid of genuine creeps in the workplace. But, as with most things, it spiraled out of control. Now, cancel culture has become this endless witch hunt, going after people for anything, no matter how small. He sarcastically exaggerates stats, mocking the way cancel culture inflates the seriousness of every little incident. It's Burr at his best, cutting through the noise and calling out the ridiculousness with humor. This part is gold.
It was unreal. It's kind of good, though, that, you know, those creeps got to take a break, because I felt like cancel culture, they were kind of running out of people to cancel, you know? As much as they wanted to make it seem, there really was a finite amount of people that took their dick out at work, despite the stats, right? Every 1.6 seconds, somebody takes their dick out and shakes it in a woman's face in a cubicle. You're like, huh?
Burr highlights how ridiculous cancel culture has become by mentioning the trend of trying to cancel dead people like John Wayne. It's absurd to him, and anyone with common sense, that people are digging up old interviews to get offended over things said decades ago. Burr's pointing out the futility of it all. I mean, what are they expecting to accomplish by being outraged over a guy who's been dead for 45 years?
And it was a way to kind of get rid of some men that maybe were in your way, you know? It's like anything. It always, like, you know, the initial thing, you agree with it, and then it kind of gets out of control. So, I don't know. They kind of ran out of people, and there was this kind of hilarious moment, like last year, where they started to try and cancel, like, dead people. Remember that? All of a sudden, out of nowhere, like, John Wayne was trending. And all of a sudden, it was all these stupid-ass woke white people, right? Oh, my God, did you see what John Wayne said in Playboy in 1971?
Burr doesn't hold back here. He rips into the so-called woke white people, pointing out how out of touch they are. They're constantly signaling their virtue, pretending they're allies, but in reality, they just want to show off how good they are. He nails the hypocrisy, how white people even stole the term woke and made it their own. It's classic Bill Burr, exposing how performative and fake the whole woke movement is, especially when it comes from privileged people.
I can no longer tolerate dead for 45 years, John Wayne, saying things in a magazine that doesn't exist anymore. I am here for black people. It's fucking idiots. What kind of a fucking idiot white person refers to themselves as woke? You know, if you actually were socially conscious, you'd realize that white people stole that word from black people.
This part really drives home Burr's point about hypocrisy. He mocks white people for acting like they would have been heroes during slavery, when in reality, they'd do the same thing they do today. Nothing. It's a brutal and funny reminder that the people patting themselves on the back now for posting a hashtag are the same ones who wouldn't actually risk anything in real life.
Every white person likes to lie to themselves that they were alive, 150 years ago, that they would have been working on the Underground Railroad, trying to help slaves escape, right? I would have been one of the good white people. I would have taken time out of my day, risked my life. And the reality is you'd be doing back then exactly what you're doing today. Nothing. Not a fucking thing.
Number 7. Ricky makes the distinction between a joke being offensive and someone just finding it offensive. It's a key difference that woke culture ignores. Gervais is right. Feelings are subjective. Just because someone gets upset doesn't mean the joke itself is wrong or offensive. It's personal preference, but these days, personal offense gets blown out of proportion.
Oh, women. Not all women. I mean the old-fashioned ones. You know?
He brings up how saying something like, "women don't have penises," can now be the most controversial statement you can make. 10 years ago, no one thought we'd even have to argue about this. But now, you can get canceled just for stating basic biological facts. This part perfectly sums up the madness of woke culture, where facts take a back seat to feelings, and common sense becomes problematic.
The worst thing you can say today is, women don't have penises, right? Now, no one saw that coming. You won't find a 10-year-old tweet of someone saying, women don't have penises. Do you know why? We didn't think we fucking had to.
The idea that you shouldn't challenge people's emotions, even when they're based on falsehoods, is a major flaw in today's cancel culture. Sometimes, feelings need to be hurt if they stand in the way of truth.
You know, if you don't like the facts, don't change the facts, change the feelings. You know.
Number 6. Bill Maher points out the absurdity that you can say something as crazy as, "men can have babies," and despite everyone knowing how nonsensical it sounds, nobody dares to challenge it. It's a jab at how woke culture demands conformity, no matter how ridiculous the narrative.
Nobody ever gets canceled for being too woke. So you can say the craziest thing, like men can have babies, even though people are thinking, well, that's kind of nuts. Nobody will say it.
Maher pokes fun at the fact that people will fall in line with the most outlandish ideas just to avoid backlash. His sarcastic remark about seeing a glowing dude yesterday exaggerates the absurdity even further. He's exposing how scared people are to voice common-sense opinions because they don't want to be labeled as anti-progressive.
They'll just fall in line. Yeah, exactly. That's what I've always thought. Men can have babies, sure. I saw a dude who was glowing yesterday. I mean, and that's the problem.
Maher ends by acknowledging the fear behind this cowardice. People see others getting canceled, shamed, and even losing their jobs, so they stay quiet to avoid the same fate. This last bit drives home the point. Cancel culture isn't about progress. It's about fear and control.
Because they see people around them literally getting cancelled, getting shamed and abused and hounded out of jobs, and they think, I don't want it to happen to me.
Number 5. Bill Maher is cutting right to the heart of it. Drag Queen Story Hour isn't really about the kids, is it? He's calling out the obvious. Sometimes this whole thing feels more like adults using children as props to push their agenda. And let's face it, when you're pushing boundaries with kids involved, maybe that should raise some red flags. It's one thing to entertain, it's another to inject your personal narrative into story time for toddlers.
Not that there's anything wrong with being a drag queen, but maybe it's time to admit that sometimes
drag queen story hour is more for the queen than the kids.
This is where it crosses the line, and Meher's spot on. You've got 5-year-olds in a bar, tipping drag queens under a sign that's wildly inappropriate for kids. And yet, we're all supposed to sit there and pretend this is just inclusivity, as if that word makes everything okay. Bill's asking the right question. Do we really have to go along with this nonsense just to keep our woke credentials? Spoiler alert, no, we don't.
And when I see a 5-year-old tipping at a bar under a sign that says it's not going to lick itself, do I have to pretend that's cool in order to keep my liberal ID card? Sorry, I can't do that.
Meher's idea here is solid. If we really want to teach kids about tolerance, why not start with something they're actually going to see in real life, like disabled people? They're more likely to meet someone in a wheelchair than someone in drag. So why not focus on building empathy where it actually makes sense? But no, the woke mob would rather push fringe narratives than engage with the real world.
If you want kids to be more tolerant, why not have handicapped people read them stories? Kids are more likely to encounter disabled people than drag queens in life.
Meher's longing for the days when story time was just that. Simple stories with simple morals. No political agenda, no identity politics, just good old-fashioned lessons about life. But no, we've moved on to using kids as pawns in the culture war, and Meher's one of the few willing to call it out.
Geez, can't we just go back to the good old days when kids were read simple stories with simple morals?
Number 4. The comedian opens up with a casual joke about his math major, but quickly shifts gears into some sharp humor about everyday things like college life. This is where the crowd is warming up. But the real heat comes later when he gets challenged by a heckler.
It's good. What's that? I said you need to stop picking on people. Start doing real jokes.
A woke heckler interrupts the set, but this dude knows how to shut him up.
My brother. Okay, look. I'm a person, you're a person. I'm talking about real shit. Majoring in math. Did that. Palestinian Jewish roommate. Did that. Family from Beirut. Did that shit. This is all real shit, brother. You don't like talking about race? Is that your thing?
It's the cheap way out.
It's the cheap way out, man. Well, you know what? Race is a reality to me, man. And it's a reality to most people. Why would the majority of the crowd be booing you? If it's... Did I have a turban? No, I do not have a turban. However, I will say, okay, look, I get mistaken for being Indian all the time. And it annoys me too because there's a difference, bro. People are like, you're Indian. I'm not fucking Indian. You can't just pick any brown person and call us Indian. You're not Columbus.
This is what happens when the woke police show up at a comedy show, thinking they can dictate what's funny and what isn't.
Stopping you, you were handled. Let him finish his set. Thank you. But that was a master
I'm sorry, man. Sorry.
The heckler tries to keep up, but he's already been handled. Number 3. This comedian starts off with some playful banter, throwing out jokes about men and the infamous difficulty of finding certain anatomy. It's a classic setup to get the crowd laughing, but then comes the feminist heckler, jumping in with her criticisms, trying to ruin the fun. Here's where things start to heat up, and the comedian's about to turn it all around.
And what's the biggest problem? Men can't find the what? G-spot, the clit, the urethra. What school did you go to?
The heckler tries to get personal, and the comedian doesn't hold back. Instead of bowing to the outrage, he flips the script and calls her out.
That's what I say when I find the G-spot. Eureka! I got it! Why? Why, ladies? Why? Because I'm an idiot? Because you're an idiot. Maybe because you're a bitch and we don't want to fucking please you. Maybe that. We're tired of being called idiots!
The comedian isn't done yet. He's letting everyone know that this isn't just about one heckler. It's about a culture that's been piling on men for everything. By mocking the over-the-top complaints of feminists, he's exposing the absurdity of how men are constantly under fire for the smallest things. It's hilarious because it's true. People can't take a joke anymore, and this feminist heckler is the perfect example.
Yeah, you fucking idiot! You fucking idiot! Where's the urethra? Where is it? Get it! Get it! Fucking bitch! Fucking patriarchy! Wake up.
And then he lands the final blow. It's not just a takedown of one feminist in the crowd. It's a complete destruction of the woke, feminist agenda that's always ready to scream patriarchy or privilege at the drop of a hat. Number 2, Andrew Schulz comes out swinging, and right from the start, he's pointing out the irony. He's at a women's march and noticing that everything these feminists are shouting for is exactly what men have wanted all along. Free the nipple? You don't need to tell guys twice. Schulz is already setting the stage for his takedown by showing that these so-called feminist goals are actually just benefiting men.
I went to one of them women's marches and we had a lot in common. I saw those girls screaming, "Free the nipple!"
Schulz is cleverly showing that these aren't revolutionary ideas. Guys have been on this page for years. The comedic genius here is that while the feminists think they're liberating themselves, they're just playing into the very system they claim to despise.
They're screaming, "We should be able to have sex with as many guys as we want." Yes, you should. If we get pregnant, we should be able to abort it. Hopefully. And we need to work so we can pay our half. Hallelujah.
Schulz delivers the line that destroys the entire premise of modern feminism. He points out that, ultimately, these women are fighting to become the very men they've spent so much time hating. It's a brilliant twist that exposes the contradictions in the feminist movement, highlighting that instead of fighting the patriarchy, they're just trying to become part of it.
It was unbelievable. These women were fighting for the right to become the men they've always hated.
To top it all off, Schulz drives the point home. Men have been the biggest winners of this so-called sexual liberation movement. While feminists are out here thinking they're leveling the playing field, it's guys who are reaping the benefits.
It's great. The greatest beneficiaries of the sexual movement, sexual liberation, have been men.
Number 1, Ricky Gervais dives right into controversy with his signature bluntness. He starts by mocking the divide between old-fashioned women and the new wave of gender identity. His joke about the old-fashioned women with wombs is a clear dig at the absurdity of erasing biological distinctions. Gervais isn't holding back here. He's pointing out how ridiculous it's become to pretend that basic biology is offensive.
Oh, women. Not all women. I mean the old-fashioned ones. You know, the old-fashioned women. Oh, God. You know, the ones with wombs. Oh. Those fucking dinosaurs.
Gervais sarcastically praises the new women.
The new women. I know the new women. They're great, aren't they? You know, the new ones we've been seeing lately. The ones with beards and cocks. They're as good as...
He mocks the idea that biological men identifying as women should have access to female spaces.
The old-fashioned... They go like, "Oh, they want to use our toilets." Why shouldn't they use your toilets? For ladies. They are ladies. Look at their pronouns. What about this person isn't a lady? Well, his penis.
The punchline hits hard.
What if he rapes me? What if she rapes you? You fucking turf whore.
Gervais is brutally pointing out that in today's world, questioning this narrative makes you a villain, no matter how valid your concerns. It's a biting commentary on how we're expected to deny reality just to fit in with the woke agenda.